Hello, everyone. Episode 6. Got some questions about setting up lucid dreaming and kind of the place of no return when certain events occur in your life where there's no going back from. Um, I was asked to clarify on what that means. So I'll be focusing on that today. Thank you for being here. Thanks to everyone that's new here. And I know you're all new here because this is a new thing. But yeah, thanks for um, all the people that have come in from having watched my discussion with Justin, which was awesome. We got a lot out of that, and I hope you did too if you checked that out. And yeah, wandering toward truth. If you came to me through a different means, is the YouTube channel that Justin Carpenter runs and is amazing and um, was on there the other day. So I hope you check out his channel if you haven't. And then I'm gonna talk about just like so when if and when you want to start making use of your dream time or your night time or your sleep time as a way to uh, become lucid, which is a very achievable thing to do. Um, I will say that I didn't really pursue it as such. I went after all these other ways of becoming lucid, which is more stuff you do during the day, or I mean, do while you're awake, not necessarily during the day. And so I didn't use the kind of the typical Carlos Castaneda practical steps that I hear and see a lot of um, people apply in their life. I looked for it. Well, I learned through a teacher directly who um, had some very unique capabilities, and so my perception was being moved constantly through the activities that we were involved in. Um, Fasting and traveling and leaving society in a lot of respect. We were spending all the time in the wilderness and just saturating ourselves with really incredible feelings. And I was, at 17 years old, I didn't have a single sexual thought for over a year. I had gotten so focused on the dreaming side of things, the energetic side of things. And that was a huge breakthrough for me. It didn't resolve things. Like, I ended up having still a lot to work out later. It's not like these things are ever go away. You always have the ego is always going to get complicated, especially when you're getting closer to real hitting evolutionary breakthroughs. It's kind of like you get blitzed. Um, so there's all kinds of ways to become lucid. If you were going to apply it to dreams at night right away, um, there's all kinds of cool tricks for sure. I particularly lay on my back, and I make it my goal to stay on my back the whole time, so that I'm really facing all the feelings. I'm not kind of hiding or covering or turning or wanting to bury myself or shut down for the night or like exhaust. Like, it's more of an intentional, intent based way of entering dreaming. And so my goal when I'm going to sleep is to catch that moment where I'm starting to slip into sleep and stay there where I'm conscious of that transformation, that transition, and try to just actually hold it and not let it pull me too far. And I try to spend as much time in there as I can. And in that space, when you're creative and imaginatory, you can sort of really observe things in a unique way, and you'll feel a lot of feelings. I mean, dreaming really is just feelings, and we're just so cut off from our feelings that we don't understand that. And so shamans learn to navigate the dark sea of awareness, which is an indescribable force that produces awareness, and it is available to all of us. It's called eternity or infinity, and how we choose to interact with that is um, our own, and it takes time before eternity really reaches you, to where it's affected you and it's changed the direction of your life, which ties into like no going back from certain when you reach certain places. Um, so by setting up your dreaming, and other people don't do this, you can pick a dreaming position. Some like yoginis will use very kind of dynamic yogic positions to enter into lucid dreaming. That's where you're kind of doing, usually you've got to do an advanced place where you can put yourself in a state of slumber at any point and go into your dreaming position and start to do dreaming. And there are dreaming gates in which you will eventually start to cross. But to set all that up in the beginning of it, like we just have these unconscious dreams. We go to sleep, we wake up, we're like, oh my God, what was that? Or while we're in the dream, we think that the dream is real, and we're like constantly worrying or thinking, oh, I'm being chased, or oh no, my son is now turned 7 years older overnight and he's got 4 heads. Like the things that can happen in a dream are so morbid and aberrant. So because, and I can explain why that exists over time, and it's probably not an explanation that you likely have heard. So setting up dreaming. Um, this is strange, but just tracking dreaming at first, right? So you actually, when you move your organs after a dream, then you forget your dream most likely. So if you can find a way to wake up without moving your body, you move your head, move your arms, grab your book, your dream journal, and you write down what you dreamt, and that's going to help you track perception, because you're not letting the perception move. You're staying in that place where you have access to that dream memory. You're writing down some notes, which is just you telling yourself and reinstating and sort of making a link to that memory. Because if you don't, right, and you get up and jump in the shower or whatever, and you just go back, if you don't do this, what you thought you were going to remember about that dream disappears quickly. So there's that beginning stage of like trying to figure out how to stop forgetting, because our memory is tied to our dreaming. But when you're laying on your back, if you so choose, what I do is I put my heart as far up into the sky as I can imagine it going, until it reaches, I just send it as far as I can send it. And then I try to feel what it's like to feel up there. And then I try to send my body after my heart. And I just spend time in this feeling. It's not like something you're going to just all of a sudden be able to just launch yourself. So you just want to begin to long for this, and let the world know you're interested in becoming lucid. If you have a lot of spiritual fear still, and you think, this is a dangerous world, and you're in a fear-based mentality, then the magnetism isn't in balance, and you probably don't want to set up dreaming necessarily right yet, because dreaming is real. It opens and unlocks doors of perception. For shamans, they use dreams as a practical means to expand their perception and to expand their experience. And then not only that, but to open doors that will change their relationship with death, change their relationship with time. So much that there no longer is time. So much so that death is no longer like, a recycle, but it's an evolutionary transformation. And so the Toltecs take dreaming as the most serious and the most practical pathway. And so in reality, when people say, oh, unconscious dreams there's no purpose, there's nothing there. Not true at all. Shamans used unconscious dreaming as a means to move their perception really far, and then become aware in that distant location of perception that only through unconsciousness could they go. So they say it's like a fisherman who casts his net out into the sea, and that the tides below might pull that, even if you can't see it, it may be pulling that line in a different direction underwater, and that's what happens. It's pretty incredible. And so as you become more and more fluid and able to move your perception, you can go to these very remote places in your dreaming, and then figure out these little tricks on how to surface with your consciousness so that you're not in forgetfulness whatsoever. So that I mean, not forgetfulness, but so that you're not in unconsciousness, and you're experiencing the dreaming, conscious that you're dreaming. And so the Toltecs use tricks, like you could pick your hands or try to look at some part of you to try to remind yourself that you're dreaming. And also so that, because the dream world is so enticing, and when you're a lucid dreamer you start to get trapped in the detail. So if you've ever been on psychedelics, it's really easy to get trapped in like the detail of like a cool stone, or you're like, you get caught in your car and you're just like, oh my god, I love it in here, or I hate it in here, whatever. You get caught in the details, especially if you go really deep and you're looking at intense, um, landscapes, or water moving, or you're involved in something that's really going to move your perception. And so that's what you want to be able to do all the time. But dreaming does that. It's like being on psychedelics when you activate it. So you could be walking through a room, notice something in the stucco, or like in the drywall, and you just start to focus on one detail within the drywall, and it will open up into a world of psychedelic, what we call the second attention, where you become small enough to basically stand on that small piece of drywall, or even smaller. Like that piece of drywall can become an entire world for you, where you think you're walking through like dunes in a majestic world, and there's light that you don't know what it's from. It's really just the light in your office. Like, so how the dreamer gets hooked by that is so difficult thing to it's a very difficult and delicate task. And so dreamers developed a system to make sure they didn't get caught in the second attention in ways that would be unsustainable, and then therefore, you know, um, a detour on in their goal of freedom. And not all dreamers pursued freedom. Some of them sought power alone and nothing else. And some of the old sorcerers achieved that. And there's entire, I mean, they very much did for thousands of years. Over 10,000 years ago, this was a very powerful world with very powerful people. And there are very few of those beings, those type of beings here anymore. And there's a reason for that too. So, um, we're very dynamic, evolved beings that have been hypnotized to such a degree that it's going to be very uncomfortable and very difficult for each of us to extract ourselves from that which has got a hold of us. And everyone can talk about what that is, but unless you're really a seer and you can perceive and explain the energetic nature of our reality, and then explain how other realities interact, and then how the dimensions within each our reality act, and unless you've done that type of dreaming and that kind of awareness training, then you really have nothing to say about it, because you don't know. And that's okay. You can decode it. You can come to terms with what makes sense for you, but unless it's applicable, right, then we're just all novices here. And I think we need to come to terms with that. We don't want to get confused about any of this and pretend that we have any sort of knowledge. Knowledge for shamans isn't knowing, who's corrupt or anything. Like, knowledge for shamans is knowing that there is a force here that makes us behave as if we're immortal. And because of that, we are missing out. We do not take this in. We're missing it because we are hypnotized. So it's okay. We asked for it. It's part of the evolutionary process to have an experience of this nature. We are not the top of the food chain. Something's got a hold of us. Okay, whatever that is, it doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter. It will matter to you eventually when you come to terms with it. And the only way people actually come to terms with it is to practice lucid dreaming, because when you start becoming lucid in your dreams, you realize what kind of interference goes on. So, when I was like 4, I had control of my dreams. I was doing really dope stuff at night, and then something came and started getting in the way. I remember, and I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know how to tell my parents. I didn't know how to talk about it. Um, but that turned into night terror, and I was running up and down the house and the hallways and trying to, like, I was caught in a dream, but it was real and I was physically awake. So my parents were trying to help, but I was just screaming, and I'm sure they took me to specialists and probably gave me something. I mean, I never asked, but um, it was intense. There was this feeling, this pressure, and I was being talked to, and I was being told if I didn't complete certain tasks, that certain things would happen to me that were really bad, like my mom would die, and that's what was told to me all over and over. And I remember it now, but I couldn't remember it when I would wake up, and so I was really confused. But because I've done what's called the recapitulation, I'd be able to get back to those things and come to terms with so much, and because of that, I can do the dreaming I was doing back then and before. I've gotten back to like 6 months old, where my perception, what we call the assemblage point, was just moving so freely. And now I can do that when I choose. I can move my perception the way a 6-month-old does. With all the experience that I've had involved, I can bring that back to that perception. And that's a huge breakthrough for me. It's nothing compared to what shamans do. They go all the way back. They erase personal history. They move beyond the boundaries of affection into the realm of pure intent. Um, we wouldn't even be able to hang out with these people because we aren't clean enough yet. Our cells are still dirty because we haven't recapitulated our memories. Um, but that's okay. We're absolutely exactly where we need to be, because the journey is the knowledge. The journey to get to the place where we are in our power like that. Again, that goes back to not, you just cross certain thresholds in the realm of affection that there's no return from. You cross certain thresholds in the realm of knowledge, in which you can never go back to being unconscious or being numb. You could try, but it's so painful. And so you want to get across that threshold, and yet part of you doesn't at all, because it knows that it can't come back and enjoy these little things. But don't worry, the comforts of this world will always be there for you, because you have to have them in the process of letting them go. It gets really intense, where, like, uh, after some powerful dreaming, to be able to come home and, from a few nights in the mountains or something intense, and just to be able to come home and, yeah, just have all the luxuries of hot water and all the things. It's okay. You're gonna need it, and you'll eventually won't be such a need that you'll do it just out of, just to function. It won't be based on some sort of fear or fear of losing your comfort, right? So you'll always have this world to come back to, but you will move beyond certain perceptions, um, to where you're no longer able to resonate or connect with certain energies or people. And that gets tricky for sure, especially if it's family and stuff. So what the Toltecs designed was something called controlled folly. It's when you're an impeccable being, and it's not for people that aren't impeccable, because impeccability is a rare state, but it's something to talk about, prepare for. Um, when you're not at odds with anything, and even if someone's yelling at you, it doesn't offend you, because it's like if you were on just, you're microdosing and you're just looking at somebody throw a fit. It's like kind of interesting. You're like, whoa, look at all that energy come off of them. Even if it's coming at you, you're just like, this is fascinating. And you're just sending love back, because you're not at odds with the world, and you feel this person's struggle, and you're not, it doesn't, it's not personal to you that they happen to be yelling at you. But when a child or somebody that can't protect themselves is being harassed or fucked with, it's absolutely even more your responsibility, you and me and people like us that don't get offended easily. We can step up and say, and we can be the calm arbitrator of truth and negotiator of balance, and you can match their perception, right? You don't have to be like a sage about it. You're like, dude, hey, motherfucker, like, you gotta go. We're good here. Like, like, let's just chill. And because that's the language and the syntax that you're gonna find on Third and Pike in Seattle. Like, so if that's going on, you can just be that guy for them, or you can be like, oh, sister, can you give us a second? Like, I know you're upset, but let me, and just like try to help the crazy ones and give them give them a way, and incredible things happen when you're willing to do that. If you're wearing the armor of God and you're willing to look into the eyes of the person that may be attacking you, they can't hurt you. Don't break the gaze and don't let the fear in, and there's nothing they can do to you at all. It's the minute you turn to cower, it's the minute you feel the fear and you start to go into contraction. Then they have an entry, and then you're in trouble. So I'm not saying go practice this, because unless you feel that, you get yourself in a situation that's unnecessary. These are things that are guided. These aren't things you go and make happen. But same with dreaming. Like, I watch a lot of people try to force lucid dreaming and intend it, and they get kind of spun out on it. And a lot of people that read the Castaneda books are very out of balance people, because they're seeking something to distract them from their own work, from their own life. They want his life. They want Carlos Castaneda's life. They don't want their own. And I do my best to try to help people to find their own way, and then borrow and benefit from all of this knowledge, so that they're not missing the whole point. And it's just, unfortunately, that's how dense we are, that the majority of people, yeah, it's just the majority of people are so distracted by the distractions of this world, whether it's sex, food, materials, and or social circles, right? That you feel love and welcome from, and so you're not able to sort of just let go of anything that's holding you back, because to you it's not holding you back, or to your ego it's critical to maintain. So I approach streaming from a more natural way, like, let me just figure out how to become less, stop taking myself so seriously. I sought out training and teachers and coaching that would expose my shadow, because I knew from reading the books, from learning from shamans that were not willing to look at their shadow, how dangerous it gets, especially the further along you get in your dream training. You're less likely to willing to go back and learn the basics, like a carpenter that learned how to use really dope tools and can do all this sick woodwork with all the big beams, but nobody ever taught him how to, like, frame a house, and he can only do the weird cool shit. You would think that's the guy that could do it all, because he's doing the most difficult thing, but sometimes that's not the case at all. And in fact, that's typically not the case, and it's surprising. And then there's just an imbalance that you discover. It's like, oh shit. And I am not claiming to have gone back and dealt with all my basics yet. I am still doing that. So as long as people are honest and being willing and not claiming to be something they're not, they're super safe to work with. I serve more as a peer. Like, I'm like, hey, you guys, I'm with you. Let's do this together. I know teachers that can help. I'm just offering that. I'm also offering to serve in a as an awareness mentor, or to teach you these movements, or to get you, you know, doing this work so that you can work with, people that I've learned from, help you transition to them, or however it plays out. And eventually we won't need coaching, we won't need help. We will reach some pretty dynamic support with each other. We'll be able to sort of create a community that where we just, we're honest with each other and ourselves, and it'll be really obvious to those that are not honest with themselves. And we don't have to call anyone out. It'll just naturally all unfold. We're not here to put pressure on people or to create any sort of situation in which everyone doesn't have something to offer, because everyone has something to offer. We're all super gifted. We're all shamans. We're all gifted at dreaming, and we all have a different task. So going back to dreaming, when you do have consciousness in your dream, and you're like, "Oh, I'm dreaming. This is amazing," and then you start to look at an item, and it'll pull you out of the dream into another dream. You're like, "Oh, you're in a different dream." So the goal is to not let that happen and try to stay in the dream that you're in as long as you can, because it's very difficult to do so. So it's called stalking the dream. Looking at your hands in your dream. They won't look like your hands at first, but eventually they will. And if you use leaves to gaze at leaves, or to gaze at things with intricate design, you'll learn how to see intricacies. And you'll see the intricacies of the world. And once you see the intricacies, you'll see the simplicities, because they complement each other, because everything's contradicting. Because everything matters. Every single thing matters. Every word, every feeling, all of it. Because, and at the same time, nothing matters. How could it possibly matter? Right? It just is. So all those things are real, and there's still one truth. It still exists as one. It's a strange thing. The contradictions are very funny. So the reason you look at your hands is then it gives you a chance to reset and stay in the dream, because you're not being pulled into something. It's not sucking you out of the dream into the next one. And then so these are ways to sort of keep returning and staying. And the more you can not let your attention get pulled, you keep breaking the fixation that it starts to get. Break the fixation and go to the next item, and just the next item, and you will then learn to stay, right? Because it's easy to travel in dreams to an next dream. The trick is to then hone it. And during the daytime, it's hard to move our perception away from where it is. So in the daytime, we're trying to do the opposite. We're trying to figure out how to become more fluid. And at night, we're letting the fluidity happen, and then we fixate. And that's the fixation of the assemblage point. The fixation of the assemblage point here in this dream, the reason our perception is the way it is because of the fixation. Because we all talk to ourselves, and we maintain this internal dialogue that upholds our reality, and because everyone is interacting within that same dream, like in its inception, you're fully upholding and therefore holding each other back from unlocking what this really is. This is an amazing dream. I have no intention of leaving it. It's not something to leave. It's just home base. You're not meant to take it so seriously, not to take ourselves so seriously, and we become light, and that's the key to dreaming as well. Lightness. Heaviness is in the food. Heaviness is in the thoughts. Heaviness is in the perception. Whether the glass is half full, or the glass is half empty, or the glass doesn't exist at all. There never was a glass, right? Whatever it is, figure out what works for you. Don't copy anyone. But at the same time, steal what you need to steal from your teachers, right? So like in martial arts, they say you have to steal it from your teacher. They can't tell you how to move like they do. There's no way to explain the way that spirit moves through them. It's so fucking beautiful and powerful. They're just so grounded. It doesn't mean that they're shamans or that they know much about the world, but they focused on martial arts and became powerful. And you steal those movements from them. You can't. It's like a dance. You're out dancing and you see people just that can just throw down on the dance floor, that just have that energy, that juice. It's not because of their dance moves, it's because of their energy, right? There's no dance moves to people that are really liberated when they're moving. They don't know what they're going to do next. They're not in a place within their mind, you know. They don't even know anyone's in the room. They don't know anyone's in that concert. It's just them. And when you can do that, and you're not like, you don't care if you're being seen or not being seen, or how strange you look, or how, that's the breakthrough, you guys. That's lucidity, right? Because we were holding each other back. So I had to let it all go. I had to let it go. I had to let go what people thought of me. I had to let go what my kids thought of me, and for a while, because of the narratives that were being said and all the things that you go through, and but you have to face all of that too. You can't, there's never that other people are wrong and you're right. If somebody's has issue with you, if things aren't in balance, it's part on you, 100%. Doesn't mean it's all, doesn't mean it's half. I don't know how much it will be, but do your part. And so yeah, when you're on your back, if you choose to do that position, and you've shot your heart way up into the sky, and then you follow it with your body, that will start to move your perception in a unique way. Another thing you could do is, and I just don't want to spoil that, like, just play with that and see what comes for you. Let me know. Um, when you get good at stuff, you want to then let yourself go all the way into a dream, and then in that dream, you want to go to sleep in the same position that you want to sleep in your actual bed. And then you want to get up in that dream, do your thing, and then go to sleep in the same position as the last two, and wake up in a new dream. That's where I'm caught. That's where I'm stuck in the dreaming gates. I cannot get past that point. As of yet, I'm not at odds with where I'm at. But when you fully can activate in that third deep dream, you aren't dreaming about you anymore. You're dreaming about one of your parallel beings, and you're actually in another lifetime that is occurring right now, parallel, because there is no time. It's just another line. So that's how powerful dreaming is. Meeting your parallel being is everything. I haven't achieved that because I'm caught like at that gate. I haven't even begun the process. It just keeps happening, and when I wake up, it's so shocking that I have basically convulsions and come out of my. I can't stay asleep. It's too much energy. It's more real than this dream. When I wake up in that one, it's as if that's the base dream. And that's actually what shamans say is our reality, that we are cut off from our. We are travelers of awareness, and we got caught in an eddy. Something got a hold of us. And we stopped traveling. We stopped being evolutionary beings. And so in a sense, we're de-evolving right now. At least the majority of us are. But shamans have always been doing evolutionary work alongside of the ebbs and flows of man. So I hope that helps. Dreaming is a door to the unknown. It's not something to be doing recklessly. And as far as the crossing the threshold of affection where there's no return, you'll know. It's beautiful. It's romantic. There's nothing else to do. There's no reason to stay in our normal reality. But we're going to make use of it. We're going to have a lot of fun with everything we do. Yeah. Take care, you guys. I'll talk to you soon.